To protect your knees in yoga, you really need to engage the muscles of the legs. And you have to slow down to do it. At first, this seems so tedious, but as you learn how to engage in these simple poses in this video, you'll be able to apply this to your practice in a way that completely supports and strengthens movement of your knees. We'll be doing some yoga poses that you've done throughout your yoga practice to straighten the leg, or some people say straighten the knee. In order to do so, you need to activate the quadriceps, the front of the thigh and the back of the thigh. We'll learn how to do that in standing poses, in downward facing dog, and in a lunge. We'll start seated. With your feet in front of you, by bending the knees, you're able to engage the thigh muscles, both the top of the leg and the back of the legs if you're working your heels down. To protect the knees while straightening the leg, we have to learn how to engage the legs first to protect the knee. Let's come to standing position. In standing position, stand tall and push your knees back. It may not feel that comfortable. Instead, bend your knees, draw the tops of the thighs right at this pant leg crease back more. So you're able to engage the legs nicely with your feet firmly planted, your thighs drawing back slightly. Now draw your tailbone down as you reach from your knee to the floor. As you straighten the legs, keep that engagement. And if you feel like you're starting to lose it, just do a slight bend again so that you can keep both the front of the thighs and the back of the thighs working. From Tadasana, with the knees slightly bent, with the engagement of the full length of the legs, the front side of the thigh, the back side of the thigh, draw forward and down to come to a forward fold. Keep that engagement as you draw down. Place your hands to your low back and rise up. This is how you safely straighten the legs in standing poses that you do each yoga class. We'll do that one more time. From Tadasana, rather than pressing your knees back, bend your knees, drill the heel down very firmly, take the top of the thigh back. Both ends are working to create this tension. The feet, the top of the thigh, keeping that, bow forward. You've got this strong engagement. The knee is stabilized. You come to the forward bend. Place your hands to your low back. Now rise up. We'll come to tabletop position now, hands and knees, to make our way into downward facing dog. From this tabletop position, step your hands one handprint higher, come to downward facing dog. And in downward facing dog, do that same thing that we did while we were standing in Tadasana, in mountain pose. Draw the knees straight back. And notice how the legs just do not feel so engaged when you do that. So instead, bend your knees, engage. As you draw the top of the thigh back more, you feel the sit bones lift nicely. From there, draw from the knees down to the heels, but keep that engagement that you created with the knees bent slightly and come toward straight legs. Keep that engagement. And come to all fours position. If you've got blocks, it might be useful to grab them. If you don't have them, no problems. But we're going to do a runner's lunge now to show how you can apply this when the leg is not weight bearing. Step your right foot forward. You can scoot your back knee back a little bit and your front foot forward a little bit more. So you start in this lunge position. Now lift your toes up and draw the thigh back. Find that point that you can press down through the heel and see if you can even widen that. So just like a boring machine, you try to get a nice width there as you press down through the heel. Now draw your attention to that pant leg crease, just like you did in Tadasana. Draw the thigh back, keep the knee slightly bent, and as you do, you're pressing down, you're boring the heel down into the mat, almost like you're trying to make an indent in the mat as you draw the thigh back. And you notice how both the top of the thigh and the bottom of the thigh are very active throughout the action of the pose. Come back to take your left foot forward. I like using the blocks only to get the elevation, to keep the spine nice and elongated, but it's not necessary for all of us. So lift your toes up. And as you get the foot engaged, you bend your knee with the heel drilling down. You pull from the heel back to the pelvis. Bring the pelvis back a little bit more. Keep that engagement, and you can draw down into the forward bend a little bit more. Shift your way back to come to, now let's apply these actions of straightening the legs in triangle pose. So come to standing. Step wide on your mat. Turn your right toes out. Chances are in triangle pose, it's the front leg that you'll feel the action of the stretch the most. So bend the front knee. With the front knee bent, create the tension on both sides of the leg. To protect the knee, you engage, drill the heel in, pull back. Now pull the top of the thigh back as well. Draw over to the side, the knee stays bent. The leg, the top of the thigh, and the back of the thigh are active. Take your hand down to some place it feels like you could be in the pose, but yet keep that engagement. Inhale and rise up out of the pose. So if you just pull your knee back, you don't have that engagement. By bending the knee and getting the engagement first, going slower into the actions of the pose, you're able to create that resistance that your muscles need. The quads need to work with the hamstrings to come toward the straight leg. Let's come to the opposite side. Turn your left toes out. Bend your knee. With the knee bent, the heel, the top of the thigh are drawing away from each other to create that tension. Keeping that, draw into the form of the pose. Keep that strengthening action. Maybe you can draw the top of the thigh back more. Maybe you can drill the heel in and pull back toward the back foot. As you're ready, you can take your hand down to come to the full form of the pose. Maybe even reach your right arm up and rise up to come out of the pose. One more time, we'll do it a little bit faster. Turn your right toes out. Bend your right knee. Create that tension in the leg The heel, the top of the thigh, both engaging as you draw down to come to the full pose. Keeping that and the back leg strong. Inhale, rise up without losing the tone in the leg. Turn your left toes out. Draw down with the knee bent slightly so you can get that full engagement and expand in your pose. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, release your hands. We've just explored how to strengthen the muscles that support the knee as you straighten the leg. So important in your yoga practice to keep that engagement in order to create a refined alignment of the legs. Thank you for joining me in the practice. Namaste.